Record. Hi, everyone, and welcome. I have another guest with us today. She's a Dedman alumna, Lauren Flannery. Lauren, welcome, and thank you so much for being here with us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Wonderful. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you work and what you do?
Yeah, definitely. So I am a sales enablement program manager at Medallia, a tech company, which at face value doesn't sound like it would have anything to do with hospitality, but we actually do experience management. So feedback from anything like customers, clients, employees, and now patients and citizens too. So really expanding into different areas. But we started out in the hospitality space, actually started out with Hilton. So some of your students might recognize Medallia from some internships using it at Ritz-Carlton or Marriott or Hilton, even Four Seasons, where I actually used to work as well and used it myself. So like I said, I'm on our sales enablement team. So what that means is I train our sales reps. I actually started out as a frontline sales rep myself at Medallia and worked my way up through our leadership team as a team lead. So I still carried a sales bag, a quota, and also managed a team. And then I moved into a full-time manager role, managing a team of 12 sales reps. And now I have moved over, like I said, to our enablement team, and I train all of those reps from onboarding to continued product training.
Wonderful. Well, you're right. That is sort of unusual for someone with a hospitality degree. Tell me a little bit about your career path from when you were at Dedman until now.
Yeah, so when I was at Dedman and even before, I actually grew up in a hotel family. My dad, my brother, my uncle all work for Marriott still and have for all of their careers. So I kind of always figured that I would always work in hotels, and that's where my internships were, my jobs were. And so it was a natural fit when I came to FSU. I wanted to go into Dedman as well and follow their path. So that's what I did. And I worked in hotels. And then after Dedman, during my time at Dedman, I interned for Four Seasons and then received a full-time offer. So that's where I went right out of college. So I went to Four Seasons in Boston and was doing the MIT program there. So I was rotating around in different food and beverage outlets, doing some assistant department head roles there. And then eventually they actually sent me out to Maui, which was fun for task force. And that was a blast. They offered me a full-time position there, but it was a small island and I was ready to get back to the mainland. And by that time I was already considering leaving the hotel industry and exploring something different. And so I wanted to kind of get back to Boston and regroup and consider what I wanted to do next. And that's actually when I called you and was asking for your opinion on what all is out there. And, throughout some really great conversations that we had, it helped me uncover different possibilities of different things that I could do with my degree that I didn't necessarily think about when I was in college. And I think I really limited myself in just thinking hotels were the only thing I could do with my hospitality degree. And that was what I was going to do for the rest of my life, and didn't really ever explore anything else. And because of that, when we were talking about all the possibilities and transferable skills and strengths and different things that I could look at, when you said sales to me, I remember just saying, I'm not a salesperson. That's absolutely not me. That's not something that I could ever do.
I remember you saying that too.
I mean, complete knee-jerk reaction. I was completely turned off by sales. Did not think that was interesting or in my wheelhouse. And the way that you framed our conversation, and I can dig into that a little bit more later, but the way that you framed the conversation and the way that you were thinking about things and helped me think about it really helped me understand how my skill set fit into this type of role, into sales and into the tech industry, and how, when I was articulating what I wanted my life and my job to be like, you really illustrated how this fit into it. So thank you for that. I wouldn't be here without you in this role and at this company. But, I found just from the start that it did fit really well. And it's something that I did not know was a possibility. And I didn't know that I could also carry my passion for hotels and for hospitality into a career like this, which is something that was also important to me because I did like working in hotels and it was such a huge passion of mine. and it's been great to be able to carry that into this role as well.
Well, thank you. And thank you for the kind words. I'm really happy to hear that our talks have helped and help you find your passion. That makes me very happy.
Yeah.
So, since you were in a more traditional hospitality industry first, and now you're in this sort of non-traditional role, I'm going to ask the next question in two parts. So, when you were working in hotels, what were your favorite aspects of that job, and what were the challenges or your least favorite aspects of that job? And then talk about your company now and answer those same questions.
So when I was working in hotels, I think one of the things that I still value and love about it is that it teaches you how to work hard and prove yourself every single day, because you're coming into a new day, a new shift. You're working with new people. Probably you are seeing new guests every single day. So it doesn't matter what you did yesterday. It doesn't matter what your degree is. Doesn't matter what your background is. It's about working hard in that shift and proving yourself. And honestly, when I meet someone that I'm working with to this day, even in the tech industry, something completely different, I can tell when someone has experience in a hotel or in the service industry because of that, trait. So I'm really appreciative of that, and I would never take back my hotel experience because it taught me to do that. And then I think the challenges, at the time, I was definitely realistic about working hard in hospitality, and I knew that it would be long hours, and like I said, I really enjoyed that. Like, I could work 6 days in a row. I could work from noon to 3 a.m., close down the bar, take a nap in the office, and wake up at 5 and work an entire shift again, because I loved it and I loved being there. But I think that the challenge that I had was the work-life balance, and then going home and not liking my life outside of work. And I think I always just figured too, being in hospitality and being in hotels means that you have to sacrifice the first 10, 15 years of your life outside of work to drive your career forward. And I very quickly, fortunately, realized that I didn't want to lose out on friendships and dating and weddings and holidays and all of these different things with my friends and family and for myself. But I just never thought that I had a choice before. So that was very challenging to me, but I think through our conversations and over the last few years, I've really just understood that there are other options out there that can, in other companies and roles that value your skills and your degree in a very different way. So yeah, I think that was the biggest challenge and biggest difference now coming over to a completely different industry.
Great, thank you. Before we started recording, you and I were talking about how many roles you've had at this company in such a short time, and you have really advanced your career very quickly in a short amount of time. So tell me a little bit about that. How did that happen? How did you make that happen?
I think the biggest rule for myself, even just going back again to the hospitality experience, is putting your head down and working. I think a lot of people compare themselves to others, especially early on in your career. It's very easy to look at someone else and think about things like a time frame and say, well, that person got promoted in 9 months. That means that I need to get promoted in 9 months. One of the things that I loved about the team that I most recently was on with a couple other managers as my peers was I came in with a lot of experience at my company and knew our product very well. We had another manager that came in with very extensive closing sales experience, and another that came in with extensive people managing experience. And so we all had our different, competitive advantage and different experiences. But instead of all of us coming in and kind of saying, maybe I deserve a promotion or you deserve a promotion first because you have X, Y, and Z experience over me, we saw those strengths and areas where we could help each other or where someone else could help us. And at the end of the day, put our head down and focus on ourselves and our own work. And I think part of that too, you need to be really humble and understand that someone's always going to be smarter or better at something than you are, and take that as an opportunity to learn from them. And then finally, I just took opportunities when they came up. I think a lot of people, especially females, and I've seen this from peers and friends and other colleagues, we want to be 100% prepared for something before we go into it. And so it can make us a little bit hesitant to jump into a role that maybe we think we're not ready for yet, or we don't have experience in it before. And I didn't have any sales experience. I didn't have any tech experience. In every role that I went into, there were things that I wasn't prepared for yet, but you learn as you go. So when an opportunity comes up, take it.
Great advice. Thank you. Let's talk a little bit about mentors. Oh, who's that back there?
That's Duke.
Hi, Duke. Let's talk a little bit about mentors. Now, I have had the honor and pleasure of being one of your mentors for the last 5 or 6 years, and it's been wonderful. It's been really fulfilling for me to watch you grow and learn new things and take on new roles and be excited and find your passion. So I'm glad that you let me be one of your mentors. Let's talk a little bit about other ones. Do you have other ones besides me?
So I would love to just keep talking about you, because I think something that's really important when people are seeking out a mentor, especially a lot of your students are probably seeking one out at this point in their lives where they're figuring out what they want to do. The thing that has been really key for me in you mentoring me is that you know me very well and you believe in me. And I think that's what helped me come to Medallia and come into this new role, because there were things that I wasn't identifying about myself or strengths or those transferable skills that you were able to take all of the information that I was kind of word vomiting out and saying, here's what I love, here's what I don't love, here's what I'm good at, here's what I'm not good at. And you were able to lay all of that out and kind of put it in perspective and give me a wake up call when I needed it and say, hey, you're actually really good at this. I don't think you recognize that you're really good at this.
Mm-hmm.
And having somebody that's going to give you those wake up calls, but also believe in you enough to push you forward and challenge you in that way is really key. And speaking of challenging me, one thing too that you did that was really monumental for me and shifted the way that I was thinking about things is you had me start thinking about what my dream life would be when I was 20, 23. And I think the culture in hotels is just so different than anything I've ever experienced, because you have your mind set on a very linear path of roles. So for example, if you are an assistant department head, you're thinking, okay, hotel manager is next, GM is next. You're always just thinking about this path that's already laid out for you. And instead, I think it's really important to think about a role in a job description and what do you want? Like maybe you do want to be a GM, but maybe you don't. If you want to be a GM, go after that. But if you don't, what's important to you? What's your dream job? What does that look like? And I remember you kind of giving me that reality check and saying, okay, is your dream job to be a hotel manager or a GM? And I think at the time my response was like, well, yeah, of course, that's the path that I want to take. But instead you had me start laying out, okay, what's really important to you in your dream job? Lay out all of those aspects and be ridiculous. And you challenged me to be ridiculous in my dream job. And I remember 2 things that I wrote down that I thought, this is never going to happen, this is absolutely ridiculous, were I could bring my dog into the office to work with me and that I had flexibility to work from home. And I remember you saying, it's not ridiculous, write it down, anything you can think of. And I was just rolling my eyes thinking, okay, this is so stupid, it's never going to happen. And guess what? Both of those things are true. So I think just completely, challenging yourself to think in that way. On one hand, I think any 5-year, 10-year plan you put together, you're never going to stick 100% to that. Things are going to change. But at the same time, you do need to kind of reverse engineer your life and challenge yourself to think, okay, let me go big or go home. Because if you're only ever shooting for what's good enough or what will just satisfy you, that's all you're going to get.
Thank you for all the kind words. That makes me feel wonderful. It has been such a pleasure mentoring you and also becoming your friend.
Yeah.
I have had some great mentors who got me to where I am in my career today. And now it's so nice for me to be in a position to be able to pay that forward. And it's really fulfilling to have watched you grow and find your passion and be really happy and know that I contributed to that. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, okay, I guess we've already really covered this next question because I wanted to ask you about work-life balance. And you have talked a lot about how you made changes to achieve that. So expand on that a little bit for us.
Yeah. So I think this is an eternal challenge for anybody. But coming from the hotel life, I think you're just always on call because you're always trying to see, okay, did someone call out of their shift? Is something going on? Hotels are open 24/7. So that was already a little bit hardwired in me. But I think that seeped into being a sales manager too, because when you get a hot lead in sales, you got to jump on it. So if someone on my team needed help, I felt like I needed to be accessible all the time. But what I've really been trying to work on recently, and what I've learned, is that it's okay to set boundaries when you deliver on what you told your managers and your team that you said you were going to do, because you'll build trust from them, and you won't have to be on call all the time and be so accessible to them, because they know that you're doing what you need to do and you're accomplishing what you need to do. So I think you
really
always need to
good
work
advice.
on it. But
That's really good advice. I think that's really a challenge for people in our industry always, is to set those boundaries, because our industry is such a 24-hour situation. And so it's very difficult to set those boundaries and say, I'm not working right now. I'm finished with work for today. So that's great advice. Thanks.
yeah.
All right. So I know your role is kind of new, so maybe you don't entirely know this yet, but tell us a little bit about what your day actually looks like.
So especially working completely from home now, it's different. It does depend on the week. It depends on the day. But what I've found recently has been helpful for me is setting a routine for myself. I used to live in meetings from 8 to 4:30 every single day, just having a team to be responsible for. So I really tried to structure out my day to accomplish more projects now that I'm more project based. But I'm essentially running training. So with our sales development reps, we call them our frontline sales reps that are doing the outbound cold calling and emailing and trying to set meetings, running group trainings with them or individual coaching sessions with them. So still a lot of meeting with them in different ways rather than managing them, but mostly surrounding training. And then I do work on building a lot of training programs too. So not just the delivery, but now working on building a lot of new, fresh trainings, whether it's the logistics of sales and introduction to sales for new reps, or specific to our products. We just acquired a good amount of different solutions. So trying to get our teams up to speed too on newer ones. But
great. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's cool because I have a lot of free time, so a lot of it is up to me to structure how I want my day to be, which requires a lot more discipline than in a hotel. You're just running around and putting out fires all day, and dealing with things as they come up. And I think being a sales manager was pretty similar. So this is definitely an adjustment, but just important to set a routine for yourself.
Good. Well, to wrap things up, what advice would you give? Now, you have sat not very long ago in this exact class, in my lodging class, and you were just getting ready to start your career. So what advice would you have now for the students in my class?
I think the biggest piece of advice that I have sitting where I am today is to keep your options open. Be willing to change course now, because it's better now than in 20 years from now to completely have to overhaul your entire career. And I think at that point it's fine to do it too, but try different things now, explore what's out there. Like I said, there are so many different things that you can do with your degree, and it's important to find out how different types of industries or opportunities in hospitality, or maybe on the fringe of hospitality like me, will value you differently. And in general, I found that the tech industry, we tie a lot of our worth to salary, and rightly so. The tech industry does make me feel a little bit more valued in that way. And I think that's something that you opened my eyes to too, that there are different ways that you're going to feel valued. I think salary is a huge piece of that. And when you're young, I don't think you realize that, I didn't realize I could be in the position that I am today and making a little bit more than I was in hotels. And it does make me feel a lot more valued. So I would say challenge your thoughts on things like that. And take what we've learned from COVID as well, and really use that to frame how you move forward. So what I mean by that is, if you're going into hotels, look at how this is going to change the hotel industry. So maybe business travel will be adapted and will be a little bit less. So maybe look into lifestyle hotels or something like that. and also work harder because of this. One thing that I do every single day is I come in and I realize that somebody who maybe doesn't have a job right now or is at risk of losing their job would work harder than me to have the position that I'm in. So that's something that I commit myself to every day, is to understand that and work harder and make sure that I'm earning my paycheck and earning my spot.
Great advice, Lauren. Thank you.
Yeah.
I can't thank you enough for being with us today and making this video for our students. I really hope we get to see you in person on campus next semester, but in the meantime, this is wonderful for them to get to know you, and I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And if anyone wants to reach out on LinkedIn, please feel free to connect with me, and I'm happy to chat.
Thanks, Lauren. Have a great day.
Thanks.